This was the only change that I actually thought I didn't think this needed to be. Yeah, and every time it was this one, it's just sitting right here.
Right.
Because that was my question.
The down here I did yesterday.
Yeah.
And,
I want to say,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome all those in attendance and those live streaming today. We have a full council, as you can see. Also present, Cliff Gravier, our town manager, Terry Tiemann, our assistant town manager, Raylene Menominee, our town clerk, and Will Wharton, IT director. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
so moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes of our regular meeting held October 17, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Approval of the financial report. Mrs. Keel.
Thank you, Mayor. This report covers the budget through October 31st, 2025. We are 58% through fiscal year 2026. We have collected 79.1% of our revenue for the year compared to 79.5% last year. We have expended 62.3% of our expense budget compared to 62.5% last year. Recognizing that this report is subject to audit, I move that the council approve this unaudited report.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mrs. Keel. Announcements. Actually, I have a very nice announcement today. As you know, the crossovers remain closed off the boardwalk while open on the north and south ends of town. Town has been having continuing discussions with DEMREC, including Secretary Patterson. And as of about an hour ago, DENREC called and indicated that they will have equipment here at 6 a.m. on Monday morning, mobilizing, and that they should get at least 3 of the crossovers open by the Thanksgiving holiday. So thank you, DENREC.
Thank you, Mayor, for your persistence.
Thank you, McGee. They'll be harvesting sand from the beach and the surf with some possible other sources. There will be some beefing up of the dunes, but I'm not sure how much of that's going to happen. Just realize this is a remedial repair only. This is not a full-fledged replenishment. And replenishment, of course, full-fledged is still in question with federal funding being the way it is. Hopefully, our winter nor'easters will be not very severe, so we'll see how it goes. I'd like to put a plug in for an upcoming meeting, the Stormwater and Flood Committee, December the 5th, 10 a.m. We will have Christophe Toulouse, Executive Director of the Center for the Inland Bays, speaking on regional development around the bays and on how he sees it continuing in the future. A hot topic. All are welcome, and as part of the meeting, updates will be discussed on regional and town resilience efforts, which a lot are going on. So hope to see you there. Also, same day, town will be hosting our annual holiday party for residents, Friday the 5th at between 4 and 6 p.m. Please join all your neighbors, town council, and staff for a great yearly event in Town Hall. It's a great way to get to meet your neighbors, so come on down. Rich? is going to have a legislative report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, despite the fact that the Assembly has been out of session for a while, there have been things going on in the state that I want to update. First, they've had their second special session this year, which I guess makes these things less special. This session was held to discuss what to do with a projected $400 million deficit in the state's coffers because of the passing of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The act had the effect of increasing deductions that companies were able to take, and because the Delaware tax code was identical to the Internal Revenue Code, if there wasn't going to be changes made in the Delaware code, they would have resulted in this projected $40 million hit over the next several years. So what they've done in Dover, they got together and they elected to decouple the state code from the federal code, for Internal Revenue Code, which isn't that unusual. A lot of states have done this, and many more apparently are considering doing it now. The most important areas were the depreciation issues and research and development issues, where in the federal bill they were allowed to take these deductions right away, and we've stayed with the way Delaware was doing it before. The final action on this was this past Wednesday, and I gather they sent it right up to the mayor, to the governor, pardon me, and the governor signed it that day too. So that's done. We'll see whether they raise the money they project to raise. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was the recent legislation and court action on the gun permit law. Last year, the Assembly passed a gun permit law which would require residents to get a permit to buy a gun and to complete a safety training program before they bought the gun. This was handguns only. There was fingerprinting involved and other things. It was free. You just had to get the permit before you could buy the gun. That bill had a delayed effective date. It was supposed to become effective the 16th, which I think was Sunday, but it was this week. There was the gun lobby, not surprisingly, filed a court action to challenge it on grounds of Second Amendment, state constitutional issues, and pretty much whatever they could throw at it. They also tried to get injunctive relief. I guess they were anxious to prevent this thing from ever going into effect. The legislative action, the injunction action rather, was turned down. The court turned the injunction down. So these rules did become effective this past Sunday. They've already announced they're going to appeal it, and wouldn't be surprising, I think, if this one ends up eventually at the federal Supreme Court, but which is something to keep an eye on. But it is in effect now, at least for the moment it's in effect. The third one I wanted to mention is one I've mentioned before, which was the marijuana laws that was a change, I guess, last 2024 too, allowing marijuana retail and also growth in the state. Sussex County had taken the most restrictive view of the three counties as to where you could have these places. There was a bill that was pending in front of the Assembly at the end of the year that would have attempted to take away local rules and enforce Sussex to be more generous or liberal, I guess, whatever the word is, as to where people could have these retail shops. Sussex, as a part of the governor vetoing that bill, agreed that they would go back and revisit their rules and see where they could make it less generous. They have done that. They've taken an action just in the last couple of weeks to change the rules, and as far as I can tell, the only rule they changed, there was a rule that said you couldn't have a retail shop anywhere within a 3-mile buffer of any municipality in the county within their borders. So you couldn't have a marijuana shop, for example, anywhere within 3 miles of our town. They changed that, and I think they only changed that to make it that you could have a marijuana shop within a half a mile distance from any state, any town's municipality, so long as it wasn't put in a place where another municipality said you couldn't have a retail shop. So it's maybe bad news if you don't think you want to have a marijuana place close to you, but since our towns around this area are so closely bunched together and everybody effectively said you couldn't have a retail shop in their towns, I don't know as a practical matter whether that really makes any difference to us. So, but it is a change. It is a more liberal change, but I don't think it's going to hit us here. And then the fourth, just real quickly, I wanted to bring up, it's not really legislation, or at least not legislation yet. Governor Meyer has announced a $1 billion grant program where he's going to start working with medical folks to ultimately build a medical school in the state of Delaware. He said when he announced this that he was going to get federal money to do it, and that the major goal for that was to create a better access to care situation in Sussex and Kent counties. I guess they consider those already adequate, whatever that means, care in Newcastle County. This could be significant. He did not say that this school that they created would necessarily be in Sussex or Kent County, but he did say that they're going to have the money to build it, and they've already entered into a contract with Thomas Jefferson University, which is in Philly, and a very well-known hospital situation, to work with them in doing that. So there's no announcement yet in terms of where it's going to be or even whether there will be legislation to make it official, but it's a really good, I think, really good development for those of us down here that are worried about the quality of care here in the area, so. And that's it.
That's quite a bit. Thank you, Rich. Before we move into reports, is there anyone present who would like to make public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to reports. Reports from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee. Pete?
Teresa and I, yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
So, wanted to give you a brief update on where we are, where our team is for, sorry?
It's not going to be able
Yep.
to say a word.
So, the significant event we had last month was a idea generation workshop, really to give all the stakeholders and members of the community a chance just to share their ideas. This was not a meeting where we debated, judged, evaluated. It was really just a sort of storyboard, get the ideas out there. And this is actually the third year we've had it. So that was a really successful event. I believe we had a pretty good contingent of folks here. And so what I wanted to just share with you some of the upgrades to that we had over that session. So we started by one saying, there's already been some, and I know Mr. Galbraith is going to talk about these in a little bit more detail, but the point of this is saying there's already been some major efforts approved at the council level for major infrastructure projects around pedestrian and bicycle safety. So we've got the four-way crosswalk going on right here. You can see the pathway being, the sidewalk being worked on. We've got two improved intersections on the south side of Garfield. One's almost completed, the other to come. Two new crosswalks on Garfield Parkway that will have a safe zone in the middle, a pedestrian pathway improvement right here across the street on Kent and Garfield, and then lastly, the review of the South Pennsylvania and North Atlantic for enhanced safety. So those are projects we've already done. And our point of sharing that was those are already going. You don't have to worry about that. That's work that's ongoing, okay? So then we got into our additional ideas, and we broke these into sort of some pieces. One are big ideas, they're sort of like bricks and mortar, if you will, whatever you want to call that. And these are just a list of the ones that we've gotten over the last 3 years, really. Again, this is the third time we've had this session. So you can see physical up at the top, additional crosswalks. Well, we've already made progress on that, right? That's what we just talked about. And I won't go through each one of these with you, but what we've done is add at the bottom the new ideas that sort of fall into this category from our March meeting. So the idea was a wider bike lanes on Route 26 and a 10-foot wide pedestrian pass on all roads going to the beach, particularly on the east side, if you will, right? So those were ideas that folks brought forward. Some administrative items that came up. Again, these are the ones that we've already either made progress on from previous years, and what we've added were the bottom ones, and these are, again, ideas from the that were suggested. New business parking locations, more four-way stop signs on Pennsylvania Avenue, additional speed bumps on east-west streets downtown, crosswalks delineated on all streets. and establish some one-way streets. So those were the ideas that were brought forward in addition to what we had before. So again, we're willing to share this and what we shared with the team is when we share your idea, none of these go away. We park them and we are going to work on either with the council for these larger projects or they become the sort of feedstock for us to work on going forward. And the last item are our engagement and behavior change things. And these are the things that the committee can really sort of focus on. This is as we're engaging, talking with the community. And again, you can see there's sort of broken into bicycles, communications, greater awareness, and others. And this really becomes the focus of what we call I guess it'll be Wave 4.0, or I'm losing track of it, which is our effort to really engage our community. So there's a number of different ways of doing this, but a lot of it is literally face-to-face contact. Thanking people when they're doing something the right way, addressing any issues or concerns, and raising the awareness, not just to what we're doing, but so they can share that same message with their family and friends that are visiting. And the last thing we did was just set some dates aside for our upcoming meetings next year, and a couple of those really stand out. One is the learning sharing event with our coastal neighbors. This will be the third year we've hosted that. Has been a very successful effort where we bring 8 or 9 different communities together. Again, it's to talk about their efforts that they're thinking about going into the upcoming season. So it's a really good opportunity to sort of leverage and share with each other and share some ideas. And then again, we'll probably do we will do another dedicated meeting in October, which is toward our getting input from the Bethany Beach community. So we've got a lot of feedback, a lot of input to work on, and when our team meets in January, it'll really be to take that input we've gotten and decide what are going to be our priority items to try to focus on. So, Teresa, from your perspective?
So I don't have a lot to add. The only thing I would like to say is we do have this event every October, but if there's something you guys want us to work on between now and October, just tell us and we'll add it to the list. You don't have to wait for that event.
Right.
That's all I have.
Great. Any comments from the council or?
This is great. Yeah, very good job.
Very good job.
Yep, a lot of activity,
Yeah. Thank you.
good activity. So, thank you. Next report, Cultural and Historical Affairs Committee, Mrs. Califf.
The Cultural and Historical Affairs Committee held a meeting on Wednesday, November 12th. This year, from January through the end of October, 511 people came to see the Dinker Irvin Museum. During this same time period last year, we did have 479 visitors. Our winter hours are now in effect, and we're open Saturdays only from 11 to 1. In December, we will again be partnering with the Nature Center to present Christmas at the Cottages. Come join us at the museum on Saturday, December 13th from 11 to 1 and meet Mrs. Dinker. She'll be sharing holiday stories and memories from the early 1900s. Carolers will be part of the festivities. There'll be craft activities for children and cookies, of course. Docents will also be available for tours of the museum. So looking into 2026, it brings a number of milestone anniversaries here, including the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the 125th anniversary of the town of Bethany Beach, and the 100th anniversary of the Bethany Beach Police Department. Plans are moving forward to commemorate these very special events. And that's our report for November.
Thank you. Report from the 4th of July Committee. Rosemary Hardiman is going to provide it as Chris Lawrence is on a business trip. Thank you, Rosemary.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Town Manager, good afternoon. The 4th of July Parade Committee held its first planning meeting for the 2026 4th of July Parade on Thursday, November 13th, and I'd like to share a brief update on our progress. I'm sorry I don't have my slides with me today. We were pleased to welcome two new committee members, Steve Ombre and Mark Bauernhuber. Both of these people have been part of the committee. They've participated and helped us out with the parade, but they've never been a part of the committee itself. So we have officially brought them into the committee. And both bring fresh perspectives and operational experience, which will be very valuable in planning and developing. As part of our planning process, we reviewed the extensive feedback from the 2025 parade, and this feedback came from committee members, from float participants, volunteers, marshals, and spectators. Their input is driving many of the improvements we're implementing for 2026. The strongest themes were the need for smoother parade flow, better crowd management, and reduced congestion around the downtown area. The committee voted to hold the 2026 parade on Friday, July 3rd at noon. And this is because July 4th, there's too much going on in town with the changeover with the homes and everything. So we'll be having it on the parade on the 3rd. I believe the fireworks will still be the 4th?
Yes, if we have enough beach.
Yeah, okay. So we have something going every day that weekend. The shift allows us to avoid the heavy Saturday rental turnover, which we believe will meaningfully ease traffic, parking pressure, and overall parade staging. We also identified the need for more parade marshals next year. And marshals play a critical role in keeping the parade safe and steady, keeping the flow steady and enjoyable. So we're going to develop a more structured training program to better equip them for crowd movement, timing, and communication on parade day. Another discussion topic involves supporting employees of downtown businesses who need to get to work while the streets are closed and parking is limited. We explored several ideas, alternative parking solution, which we hope to refine these options at our next meeting and bring forward the recommendations to the town manager and council. Looking ahead, we began brainstorming the 2026 parade themes with the goal of honoring both Bethany Beach's 125th anniversary and the United States' 250th anniversary. The theme and the official T-shirt design will be finalized at our next meeting on January 12th. Finally, we're aligning our communications and marketing plan around 3 priorities. First, early and widespread awareness of the Friday, July 3rd parade date. Next, enhanced online float registration to reduce the administrative burden. Third, a more direct approach to volunteer recruitment to ensure adequate support on parade day. Overall, our focus this year is to continue to elevate the fun and build upon the family-centered tradition our community loves while reinforcing the patriotic theme or spirit of the holiday. And thank you from Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, Rosemary. Report from the town manager.
Mayor, council. Council, I really want to thank you for approving the sidewalk extension on Monday. I told you that the contractor was ready to go to work, and he certainly was ready to go to work.
Yeah,
So
it looks like it's almost done.
yes, he is almost done. That's quite amazing. Another thing that's progressing very well is the work on the Lake Bethany land spit. I've included a couple of pictures of what that looks like. The size of the equipment in the loop canal, it dwarfs the loop canal, and they're really making some good progress. We also have a development here within the last day or two where the contractor's reevaluating the exact placement of the retaining wall. And it seems as if with a little bit of movement with the wall, we'll be able to save at least a dozen more trees than what we're tentatively scheduled to come down. Might even be more than that. We're meeting on site with the contractor next week to review that suggestion, and hopefully that works out for us. Earlier in the year, an issue that's been bounced around a lot here at the council table, and it's something that I continue to be an advocate for, is the idea that we would create some sort of a boardwalk, if you will, an environmentally friendly boardwalk through the Walcheck property. There was discussions about doing that. There is a strong contingent of people that live on the east side of the Walcheck property. that are opposed to it for a variety of reasons. I think some of them, the town is, and the town's experts and engineers can refute easily. Probably the primary reason that they oppose it is they don't want additional foot traffic through their neighborhood. We have, over the course of time, taken a look at the potential traffic impact of putting that path in, the impact on the environment, which is almost non-existent. But as we proceeded with this, we wanted our engineer to give us a better idea of what the possible cost of a project like that would be. I think over the course of time, especially looking back at the amount of dollars that we put into the nature center in that pathway, we were thinking that probably an elevated boardwalk might be somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 or $600,000. Our engineer came back a couple of months ago and advised us that the preliminary estimate for the construction of that path would be $2.1 million, which was certainly something higher than any of us had anticipated. Because of that, after discussions, some of our discussions in Budget Committee and reviewing different issues with our finance director and different conversations that I've had with the council, that's something that I think I've recommended, and I think the council members that I've spoken to agree, is something we should put significantly back on whatever timetable for the future we have with coming projects. And I raise this now because the group that was opposed to this idea sent the council a letter and demanded the council forever table the issue, and that's something town councils can't do. One town council next month can undo what a town council does this month. But in response to that, the council did explain that they were moving away from the issue because of the expense. And we have not reached out yet to the, I think, over 100 people who are advocates for and had signed a petition for the pathway that live on the west side of the Walchuk property. And I'm delivering this message today for them so they understand the idea is out there in probably not the near future at all, given the other things we have queued up and we have to accomplish here in town. But at some point in time in the future, it may come back. So we haven't forgotten them, not to say that anything's imminent, but no one has taken this completely off the table. It's still out there for council consideration in the future. Route 26, back to Route 26, you have a couple of estimates in your packet, and you'll see those are estimates that have been prepared by an engineer that DelDOT subcontracts with and we subcontract with for the improvements on Route 26. We are waiting on an approval contracts from the DelDOT legal department that will contain the dollars listed in these estimates and will be an agreement the town will sign saying that we agree to pay these dollars. And at that point in time, DelDOT will begin immediately to bring the project to fruition. They already have contractors lined up. These are the dollars the contractors are obligated to construct the project with. There'll be no bidding on the town's part. We'll put no packages out. We'll have no oversight of the project. As soon as we get those agreements in hand, they're overdue. If it's not close to the January meeting, I'll ask the mayor to schedule a special meeting so we can sign those contracts and proceed with the work to make sure that that's done long before the summer season. But those are the dollars. The larger amount are for the two islands, the pedestrian safety sanctuaries in the middle of Route 26. One is west of Treetop Lane and the other is west of Fountain Boulevard. Then there's also a construction project here at Kent that will allow you to come up the east side of Kent, cross Garfield Parkway, extend it safely, and then go to the island there and then cross to the north side of Route 26. That's something that should happen fairly quickly. Those contracts from DelDOT are somewhat overdue. We have been expecting since the summertime approval for work on our intersection here at 1 and 26. This project is significantly past where we thought it would be at this time, and we have run that to ground here in the last week or two. The design was approved by DelDOT last year. We were on our way to asking for a safety permit from DelDOT that's created here by Sussex County DelDOT employees, sent to Dover for approval. And generally, the approval for a safety permit takes about 2 weeks. I will tell you that about 3 weeks ago, we applied for the safety permit for the sidewalk. It was approved, and you can see the construction going now. We have found out that our application for that permit has been in queue since it was submitted in August. We have asked that it be resubmitted, and we're hopeful we're back into the 2 or 3 week cycle for approval. And if we are, again, we can get that moving fairly quickly. Council's aware that we've had some issues with the bulkhead that is under the boardwalk, at the very edge of the boardwalk, between the boardwalk and the pavers, the paved portion of the boardwalk plaza. We have a bulkhead that's deteriorating, needs to be replaced. We have some pavers and some bollards that are falling into the sand as the bulkhead deteriorates, and our engineer's recommended solution is to create an MSE wall, a manufactured stabilized earth wall, as a berm behind the existing bulkhead. That involves probably removing somewhere between 30 and 40 feet of pavers, a strip of pavers, back towards the guardhouse. One of the things that we know fairly well, and our engineers have confirmed for us, along with contractors we deal with, is that it's going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to restore those pavers to have it look anything like it does today. The idea that we'll be able to reuse pavers and supplement without creating an eyesore is something that probably won't happen. We could knock back, create a line 30 or 40 feet across, maybe try to reduce something, but it wouldn't meld at all with the current design of the pavers up there. And that is the town's focal point. It's the hub of the community, more or less. When we did the initial Boardwalk Plaza area, we looked at maintaining earth tones, not doing anything too outlandish in terms of design or color, because we always viewed the oceanscape as the focal point of view being on the plaza. I've included a couple of pictures from our engineer. There's some of them are sort of maybe overly colorful, but things for you to think about as we talk about design probably in the next month or two for what we want to do for paver replacement. This project, we're supposed to have some final design from the engineer here in the next week or two. That'll allow us to go right to bid documents, and is again something we're hopeful we can accomplish before the next year. But that's hopeful again that we can do that. But if that happens, we'll have to make some decisions on what that paver design will look like fairly quickly. So something for you to consider. The town, conjunction with CHAC and the library, are doing something a little bit different for this year's calendar. Traditionally, we do a photo contest. We select winners of the contest, and we use those photos to populate our calendar. This year, CHAC, along with the library staff, have decided that they want to do something different, and we're going to have an art contest for people from 6 to adult, winners judged in different age categories, and those pictures selected will populate the calendar this year. Submissions for that begin November 22nd. We should have something on our website, and we'll be doing a news flash that will give people more detail about that. And we are going to collect as many of the pictures as we can at a certain point in time and display them here in the town hall lobby. So that should be something that'll be interesting and a little different. And Mayor, that's all I have.
It's quite a bit.
Quite a mouthful.
No slides.
Some slides.
What?
I'll tell you, you guys are all slipping.
Okay, any questions? Okay, a lot of things covered. Before we go into new business, I'd like to state that there will be an opportunity for the public to address any questions on the agenda items after initial council discussion and before council votes. First item on our new business on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible vote on an amendment to the committee guidelines and standing committees. Mr. Gravier.
Mayor, as a matter of process, council is obligated to review committee guidelines on a yearly basis. This year, in looking at committee guidelines, I'd like to clarify a point, and a point, I think 3 or 4 years ago, we made a slight change to the guidelines, and I think we confused an issue that was fairly clear in years past. It's been a matter of practice here in the town for many years to allow people who do not reside within the corporate limits of Bethany Beach to be committee members. Just as staff can be committee members, but staff and people that don't live within the corporate limits do not have voting powers on committees. The way that's been worded in the past here on the committee guidelines, I think, has caused some confusion. I sent you earlier in the week a suggested change, and that suggested change was on the bottom of page 2, paragraph H. I added in the second sentence, staff members and non-residents may serve on committees as non-voting members. It was pointed out to me, and I believe it's accurate, that as long as we continue to use the word resident and citizen, it'll continue to be misinterpreted, probably because of what we have in our charter that talks about resident and non-resident, different ways specific to voting and holding office. That's just specific to that particular issue, but I think everybody reads it and then interprets it a lot of different ways as it applies across the code. So I clarified that a little bit on something I've left on at your table here. The new wording I suggest for H, second sentence says staff members, and the new wording, members who do not reside within the corporate limits of Bethany Beach, just to be very specific and clear and not use the word resident and citizen. At the same time we did that, back on the first page under definitions, where it used to say citizen, I suggested we do citizen/resident, again, to make this issue more clear in the future. So those are my suggested amendments to the guidelines for this year.
Are there any questions? First of all, do we have a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept the changes that Clips made to these committee guidelines.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion?
It's a good change.
I think it's pretty clear, and I agree that,
Clarifies it.
it's good to clarify, absolutely, because some people will misinterpret, so.
And I thank Rosemary for the suggestion.
Okay,
We need to vote.
yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, discussion, consideration, possible vote on committee guidelines and standing committees. Mr.
And-
Gravier.
Mayor, council, this is simply the approval of the guidelines as presented here now with the amendment.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion from the audience? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item, discussion, consideration, and possible vote to establish the Seaside Craft Show Committee and guidelines for that committee. Mr. Gravier.
Mayor, a number of years ago, for the first time in the decades that had been established, the town made a decision that it would be a good idea to make the 4th of July committee a formal standing town committee. Before that, that had not been the case. It was a committee that met without a real specific agenda, without posting an agenda, without having to meet any FOIA requirements. And at that point in time, it was comprised of a large mix of people from lived both in town and out of town. Over the course of time, I think everyone thought it would be a better idea to make it a more formal committee. And for the last few years, it has been a standing committee, a committee that gives us a list of its mission statement and the guidelines and abides by the regulations of FOIA. For the last, well, since 2005, when the craft show was first begun, the craft show was an event, if you will, a thing that was done by the Cultural and Historic Affairs Committee. Over the course of time, the chairman of the Cultural and Historic Affairs Committee became the de facto chair of a subcommittee that created and put on the craft show. And it was always a committee that met without agendas, met without postings. They were a committee that weren't making decisions as much as they were doing the work needed to put the craft show on. Over the course of time, I think both committees have evolved to the point in time that it makes good sense for us to look at the craft show and make it a standing committee where we clearly delineate what it does, and we delineate a separation between that committee and the CHAC committee. And I've given you guidelines for that and would like to suggest that the committee be formed, and those are the guidelines that are followed.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Second.
Discussion.
I have just, not a substantive question, but in the second line of this, is the word jury, should that be there?
Yes, there's a jury that selects who participates, and that's exactly the word they
Oh,
use
okay.
for it.
Oh, okay, I didn't know what that was for, okay.
It's not
Okay.
like a legal.
Legal mind, I get confused easy.
Any more questions, discussion? Audience? Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Discussion and consideration for possible vote on the chairman of the Seaside Craft Show Committee. Mayor Califf.
Council, you have a brief bio on Paula Holloway. Paula is a longtime homeowner in Bethany Beach, moved here permanently in 2015. She worked in education in the museum field for 30 years, and after moving here to Bethany, she worked as education director for the Rehoboth Art League until she retired recently. She would bring extensive prior experience with the operations of similar shows, as she's been exposed to those. Do I have a motion to appoint Paula Holloway as chairman of the Seaside Craft Show? And that was the second? Okay. Discussion. Anybody in the audience have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next order of business. Discussion and consideration and possible vote on member appointments for the Seaside Craft Show. Mayor.
Council, you have a listing of the committee members. They include Paula Holloway as chair, Claire Simmers, Gloria Farrar, Carol Califf, Gina Barvinchak, and Carol Olmsted, with Julie Maluski acting as the non-voting staff member. Gina Barvinchak is a non-resident and thus would be a non-voting member. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Discussion.
Is this gentleman the same size that has been working on this subcommittee before? Same number of people? Generally?
pretty sure it
Okay,
is.
okay, I just didn't know, so, okay.
I mean,
No,
there's a
the-
lot of volunteers, is my understanding.
Right now, I think the committee has been as large as 10. Right now, the membership is represented there. So per the committee guidelines, any committee can have as many as 9 people on it, and if they would like more, they petition the council, they ask to put more people on the committee.
Yeah. I mean, they are similar to the 4th of July in
Okay.
that they have a lot of volunteers.
Okay, I just didn't know, okay.
Right. Any discussion from the audience? Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next order of business. Discussion and consideration for possible vote for the appointment of Nancy Delwin to the Cultural and Historic Affairs Committee. Mayor.
Okay, I think it's Doolin.
Doolin?
Council, I believe you also have a copy of the bio for Nancy Doolin. You'll note that Nancy is not a full-time town resident. However, she does own property in a home in the town. So she's not she would be a full voting member because she has property here. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Audience? Those in favor of Nancy Doolin, please indicate by saying,
Aye.
okay.
Next order of business, consider and possible vote on canceling the December 2025 Town Council meeting. Mayor.
This is kind of a normal action that we do every year. We normally don't have a December council meeting because it falls right in the middle of the holidays. We would, of course, and Cliff was alluding to it before, that we may have some contracts and that we need to act on, or if there's anything else that we need to act on, we would call an emergency meeting and act on those accordingly. So I do we have a motion to do away with this December meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And second. Okay, discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Final order of business, I believe. Consider a motion to go in executive session, discuss personnel matters pursuant of 29 Del C 1004B 9 and C relating to personnel matters. Mayor.
Do we have a motion? This is, it's personal matters, so personnel matters. Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. Have a great Thanksgiving, as well as a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. We will see you hopefully at the Christmas party on the 5th. Thank you.
Didn't get the letter? No, I didn't get the email, but it didn't get brought up here. It didn't get it